was constructed with layers of solid rock, granite, covered with geopolymer concrete. There's a perfect example.
Deep in the mountains of Montana, a massive stone wall has been uncovered after lying hidden for thousands of years. Blocks weighing over 90 tons stand in perfect alignment. Strange knobs cover their surfaces, and the entire structure points toward the winter solstice. Some insist it is only nature's work, while others whisper it is the last trace of a lost civilization older than the pyramids. Why was it buried for so long? And what secrets still hide beneath the ground? Let's discover the hidden giant in Montana. Buried deep in the mountains of Montana, hidden under centuries of fallen trees and heavy soil, lies a wall so massive and so precise that it should not exist in this part of the world. When people first laid eyes on it, they described it as if nature had built its own fortress. Towering granite blocks fitted together like a puzzle, stretching in a line too straight to be accidental. How could such a structure remain hidden for so long? Who could possibly have built it, if it was built at all? And is it possible that the United States has been keeping one of the greatest archaeological mysteries on the planet right under our noses? The story begins far away from professional archaeologists or a university-led excavation, but with two ordinary landowners, Christopher Borton and Linda Welsh. On their private property in remote Montana, they decided to clear a section of the forest that had been overgrown for what seemed like hundreds, if not thousands, of years. What they expected to uncover were tangled roots, fallen logs, and perhaps some boulders scattered across the mountainside. Instead, they found themselves staring at an enormous wall made of stone blocks so large, so angular, and so well-aligned that it seemed impossible to explain. This was much more than a random pile of rock or the natural outcropping of granite you'd expect to see in the Rockies. It was something else entirely, an engineered-looking wall in the middle of the wilderness. Measuring approximately 275 feet in visible length, with parts of it rising nearly 25 feet above ground. The wall was already staggering at first sight. Later studies suggested that another 15 feet of the wall may be buried below the soil, meaning the full height could reach 40 feet if excavated. That's not a wall, it's a skyscraper of stone when viewed in its entirety. And the blocks themselves are monstrous. Some of the largest stones weigh an estimated 91 tons each, the equivalent of more than 60 average-sized cars. If you lined them up, the wall would run almost the length of a football field. Yet every block looks carefully fitted, pressed tightly against the next, with almost no gaps, as though someone, or something, wanted to create a seamless barrier. What makes the Sage Wall so remarkable is not only its size, but its geometry. Granite, the material making up the wall, is an intrusive igneous rock formed deep underground. When it weathers and cracks, it does not naturally split into neat cubes or perfect 90-degree angles. Instead, it usually breaks into irregular shapes, jagged pieces that fracture along unpredictable lines. Yet here, in this remote corner of Montana, we see what looks like an enormous wall composed of large polygonal blocks with crisp edges and straight lines. It almost appears as though the stone was cut deliberately, as if ancient masons with extraordinary skills took raw granite and shaped it into perfect blocks, stacking them carefully to form a massive linear structure. Is it even possible for nature to mimic the kind of stonework we normally associate with human hands? The shock for many researchers and visitors came from the comparison. Around the world, there are only a handful of places where you see stonework like this: the towering walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the Cyclopean masonry in ancient Greece, or certain Japanese megaliths that have baffled experts for decades. In each of those cases, the prevailing explanation is that humans built them, using techniques that have long since been lost to history. Yet, in Montana, there are no ancient civilizations known to have quarried, cut, and transported such enormous stones. To find a structure of this magnitude in the American wilderness throws an entirely new layer of mystery into the story. One of the most unsettling details of the Sage Wall is the presence of strange protrusions on the surface of the stones, commonly referred to as knobs. These small, rounded bulges jut out from otherwise flat faces, and their purpose has never been fully explained. What is undeniable, however, is that they appear at nearly every major megalithic site across the globe. At Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the knobs are clear and deliberate. In Egypt, many of the massive stone blocks feature similar shapes. Even in India and China, you find them appearing repeatedly on ancient megalithic structures. So how do we explain their appearance here, in the wilderness of Montana, on blocks that are supposedly nothing more than fractured granite? Is it an incredible coincidence? Or are we looking at the traces of a building tradition so old and so widespread that it reached across continents? The landowners who uncovered the wall could hardly believe what they were looking at. For years, the structure had been buried under a natural camouflage of fallen trees, thick foliage, and soil accumulation, making it nearly invisible to anyone walking by. Only after painstakingly clearing the land did the full scale of the wall reveal itself, standing in defiance of easy explanations. Some geologists quickly dismissed it as a natural rock formation, but the precision, the alignment, and the sheer size of the blocks left others with more questions than answers. Could this be the ruin of an ancient civilization erased by time? Could it be part of a larger, hidden complex, one that stretches beyond what we can currently see? Or is it possible that nature itself produced one of the greatest architectural illusions on the continent? Clues of a lost civilization. What has stunned researchers and explorers alike is that this discovery is something uncovered only in the last few years, a revelation that appears to rewrite what we thought we knew about human history in North America. The Sage Wall of Montana has been hiding in plain sight, buried beneath trees and soil for millennia. And when it was finally revealed, it was not just a strange geological outcrop. Instead, it bore uncanny similarities to some of the most mysterious ancient megalithic structures scattered across the globe. The kind of places long associated with lost civilizations and unexplained engineering feats. How is it possible that a site in Montana is now being discussed in the same breath as Sacsayhuaman in Peru, or the Great Pyramids of Egypt? And if that comparison holds true, then what does that say about who lived here thousands of years ago? One of the first people to document the wall in detail was Michael Collins, the creator of the YouTube channel Wandering Wolf, which specializes in investigating ancient sites around the world. His visit to the Sage Wall left him with the same sense of disbelief that many viewers felt when they first saw the footage. Walking along the base of the structure, Collins pointed out strange protrusions, the knobs that rise from otherwise flat stone surfaces, almost like fingerprints left behind by builders. Far from simply being random features in geology, these knobs are repeatedly found on ancient stone walls in Peru, Egypt, India, and China. Their function is still debated, with theories ranging from construction aids to symbolic markings, but their presence is consistent. To find the same detail at Sage Wall immediately set alarm bells ringing. Was it really possible that the same mysterious techniques used on the other side of the world somehow appeared here in the American wilderness? The deeper Collins explored the area, the more anomalies he recorded. Straight channels carved into the stone appeared to run along the slope, almost as if designed to control the flow of water. Additional wall-like formations could be seen nearby. some aligned with remarkable precision, suggesting that the Sage Wall might not be an isolated feature, but rather part of a larger complex, now collapsed and buried by time. In several places, he observed grooves and cuts in granite that looked uncannily artificial, the kind of marks you might expect from tools rather than from natural weathering. One particular piece, heavily eroded yet still recognizable, resembled a block from the temple complex of Karnak in Egypt, complete with a squared groove and circular indentation. There were also cup marks, small, circular cavities carved into stone surfaces. Archaeologists classify them as one of the oldest known forms of rock art, dating back tens of thousands of years, with examples scattered across Europe, Asia, and South America. Their purpose is uncertain, though some suggest they were used for grinding or ritual offerings. At Sage Wall, cup marks appear in patterns strikingly similar to those at megalithic sites thousands of miles away. Collins drew direct comparisons between the Montana markings and those found on massive blocks at Sacsayhuaman in Peru, a resemblance that deepens the puzzle. Are we looking at evidence of a shared prehistoric culture that spanned continents, or at least at parallel developments in distant societies? The intrigue surrounding the Sage Wall grew even more intense when Dr. Semir Osmanagic, a Bosnian-American researcher best known for his work on the controversial Bosnian Pyramid, traveled to Montana to study the site. His reputation is polarizing, but his eye for anomalies is sharp, and he concluded that the Sage Wall was man-made. He pointed out that the orientation of the wall was aligned closely with the winter solstice, a feature found at many ancient megalithic sites such as Stonehenge. Orientation to celestial events is something that implies deliberate planning and cultural or spiritual significance. Osmanagic went further, suggesting that the wall predates the end of the last ice age, placing its construction at least 11,700 years ago. That would make the Sage Wall older than Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is already considered one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century for rewriting our understanding of early civilization. If Osmanagic's dating is correct, then we are looking at a structure older than any known city in the Americas, constructed at a time when mainstream archaeology believes the continent was sparsely populated by nomadic hunter-gatherers. Could those groups have possessed advanced knowledge of stonework and astronomy, or does the Sage Wall point to an entirely lost civilization whose story has vanished from the record? Part of what makes this claim so provocative is the wall's location. During the Ice Age, sea levels were lower, and a land bridge connected Asia to North America. The area where the Sage Wall stands would have been a crucial passage between two massive ice sheets, the Cordilleran to the west and the Laurentide to the east. This corridor funneled migrations southward, making it a strategic hub for human movement. In addition to its placement between the glaciers, the site is located near rivers that lead to 3 different oceans, a geographical advantage unmatched in most parts of the world. To add to this, the area is rich in minerals, including one of the largest quartz crystals ever discovered in Montana. The question naturally arises, was the Sage Wall built here to serve as some kind of central gathering place, trading hub, or ceremonial complex during a time when humans were making their first great migrations across the continent? If the wall really does date back to that era, it would mean it survived the cataclysmic Younger Dryas, a period marked by massive environmental upheaval around 11,600 years ago. During this time, giant glacial floods, known as the Missoula Floods, swept across the Pacific Northwest, carving canyons and depositing enormous amounts of sediment. These floods reached heights of several hundred feet and speeds of up to 80 miles per hour. That the Sage Wall could remain intact through such an event would make it not only ancient, but also extraordinarily resilient, implying either a design meant to withstand catastrophic forces or a lucky placement that shielded it from destruction. As word of the discovery spread, more strange sites in the region came under scrutiny. Researchers and explorers began linking Sage Wall to a wider network of unusual formations known collectively as the Montana megaliths. These include the Tizer Dolmen, a structure resembling the stone table like tombs found across Europe and Asia, where two upright stones support a massive horizontal slab. There are also reports of structures referred to as the pipestone walls, as well as numerous boulders with scoop marks and carvings that suggest artificial shaping. While skeptics dismiss many of these as natural erosion, the similarities to global megalithic traditions have fueled speculation that Montana may have once been home to an advanced culture whose works are only now being rediscovered. From these discoveries emerged some of the most sensational theories. Some argue that whoever built the Sage Wall must have possessed advanced technology, perhaps machinery capable of cutting and moving blocks weighing dozens of tons. Others suggest that the wall and related structures were part of a prehistoric knowledge system, aligned to stars and solstices in ways we have only begun to decipher. A few go further still, hypothesizing that Montana was once a center of global exchange, a node in a network of civilizations that connected continents long before recorded history. While these claims remain speculative, they highlight just how disruptive the Sage Wall is to conventional narratives. Is it possible that Montana, often thought of only in terms of its rugged wilderness and mining history, was once the site of a civilization with skills comparable to those that raised Stonehenge, the Egyptian pyramids, or the Great Walls of Cusco? While mainstream archaeology urges caution, pointing out the lack of artifacts and cultural evidence, the physical reality of the Sage Wall remains undeniable. The skeptics speak. For all the shock and speculation surrounding the Sage Wall, not everyone agrees that it is evidence of a forgotten civilization. In fact, many geologists argue that the structure can be explained through natural processes that are well understood, even if the results are visually astonishing. Montana is home to what is known as the Boulder Batholith, a massive underground granite formation created during the late Cretaceous period, when molten rock slowly cooled beneath the Earth's surface. Over tens of millions of years, this vast expanse of granite has been fractured by tectonic stress, uplift, and erosion, producing blocky patterns that sometimes look deceptively like deliberate construction. When you see giant, straight-sided cracks running across granite cliffs, what you are witnessing is the slow, natural splitting of rock under enormous pressure, not necessarily the handiwork of ancient engineers. Skeptics point out that the Sage Wall fits this model. Granite batholiths often fracture in linear and polygonal patterns, forming large blocks that appear stacked, even though they are not. In such cases, fissures can extend from the base of a rock face all the way to its top, creating the illusion of a carefully built wall. Timothy Alberino, who has studied the site in detail, stresses this point by highlighting how many of the cracks at Sage Wall follow continuous paths from bottom to top. If the wall were actually constructed, he argues, the builders would not have placed the blocks in such a way, because structural integrity in masonry requires that blocks be staggered and interlocked, not aligned directly along one vertical seam. To Alberino and others, this continuous fracturing is a geological fingerprint, proof that nature, not humans, shaped the site. The knobs, those small protrusions that so intrigue researchers, also have a natural explanation according to geologists. Dr. Stuart Parker, who analyzed the site in a video presentation, explained that knobs can form when harder minerals within the granite resist erosion, while softer sections wear away more quickly. Over thousands of years, this process leaves behind small bulges that look intentional but are really the result of differential weathering. While at first glance these knobs may resemble those seen at sites in Peru or Egypt, skeptics argue that the similarity is coincidental rather than cultural. After all, Erosion processes happen everywhere, and similar results can arise in different parts of the world without requiring human intervention. Another significant critique is the absence of cultural artifacts. At other megalithic sites, you almost always find signs of human activity: tools, pottery fragments, carvings, or evidence of settlement nearby. So far, nothing like that has been found at Sage Wall. For many archaeologists, the absence of such artifacts weighs heavily against the theory of a man-made structure. If people had really quarried and moved stones weighing up to 90 tons, then surely some trace of their activity would remain in the surrounding soil. Without that supporting evidence, it becomes much harder to argue that Sage Wall is anything other than a geological curiosity. And yet, the debate refuses to die down, because some of the details still refuse to fit neatly into the geological explanation. Ground-penetrating radar studies carried out at the site suggest that the wall does not end at ground level, but continues at least 15 feet below the surface. Even more intriguing, below the wall appears to be a flat platform or foundation, something highly unusual in natural rock formations. If this reading is accurate, then the Sage Wall is not simply a cliff face eroded by time, but rather a much larger feature with dimensions more consistent with construction. Then there is the matter of magnetism. When scientists and explorers tested the granite blocks, they found that magnets would stick to the surface, as if the wall contained an unusually high concentration of magnetic minerals. While granite can contain magnetite, this level of magnetism is rare, and some researchers have taken it as a sign of deliberate modification or unknown geological processes. Whatever the explanation, it adds another layer of strangeness to the wall. Why would a supposed natural cliff face generate magnetic pull strong enough to hold magnets in place? Could it be that we are dealing with a type of stone altered or selected for specific reasons? This is where the debate becomes especially heated, because while skeptics emphasize the lack of artifacts and the geological context of the boulder batholith, proponents of the man-made theory point to the anomalies that have no simple answers. The lack of peer-reviewed studies also contributes to the uncertainty. Most of what we know comes from private investigations, YouTube documentaries, or independent researchers, not from universities or official archaeological teams. Without rigorous scientific publications to rely on, each side is able to claim that the evidence supports their position. For some, this lack of academic involvement suggests the site is unimportant geologically. For others, it is a sign that mainstream archaeology is avoiding something that challenges the accepted narrative. So, which is it? Is Sage Wall simply a product of tectonic stress and natural erosion? Or is it a piece of a larger, now vanished structure built before the end of the Ice Age? The truth is that no one can yet say with absolute certainty. The geological explanations are strong and rooted in established science, but they do not completely account for every anomaly observed at the site. At the same time, the man-made theories capture the imagination but lack the kind of physical evidence, tools, carvings, or datable remains that would make them conclusive. This unresolved tension is precisely what keeps the Sage Wall so fascinating. The global puzzle, connecting Sage Wall to other mysteries. When researchers and explorers look at the Sage Wall in Montana, they are not only struck by the sheer size and geometry of the blocks, but also by how familiar it seems when compared to other mysterious structures around the world. It is as if the same language of stone, repeated across continents and separated by oceans, is whispering a story that we have yet to fully understand. How can it be that a wall in North America carries echoes of construction styles seen in Peru, Egypt, and Turkey? And if these echoes are more than coincidence, does that mean we are missing a chapter of human history that connects these places in ways we cannot yet explain? One of the most immediate comparisons is with Sacsayhuaman in Peru, a fortress-like complex outside the city of Cusco, where gigantic polygonal blocks were fitted together with extraordinary precision. The stones there, some weighing over 100 tons, interlock so tightly that you cannot slide a blade of grass between them. Many of those blocks feature knobs or protrusions on their surfaces, details that remain unexplained but appear deliberate. When the knobs on Sage Wall's granite blocks are placed side by side with those at Sacsayhuaman, the resemblance is undeniable, and it raises questions about whether these distant sites reflect a shared building tradition or simply parallel solutions to unknown challenges. In Egypt, the parallels are more subtle but equally provocative. The Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed more than 4,000 years ago, demonstrates a level of precision in stone cutting and alignment that modern engineers still marvel at. Massive limestone and granite blocks were shaped and set in ways that defy easy explanation with the tools supposedly available at the time. At Karnak and other temple complexes, strange knobs, cup marks, and unexplained grooves can also be seen, hinting at methods that are now lost to us. When proponents of the man-made theory look at the Sage Wall, they argue that we are seeing another piece of the same puzzle, evidence of advanced stoneworking skills appearing in a place where no such tradition is supposed to exist. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey adds a further layer of intrigue. Discovered in the 1990s, this site turned archaeology on its head by proving that monumental construction existed long before agriculture and settled civilization were thought to have developed. The massive T-shaped pillars of Göbekli Tepe date to more than 11,000 years ago, placing them firmly in the pre-Ice Age period. The fact that people at that time could design and build such structures forces us to reconsider assumptions about what humans were capable of in deep prehistory. Advocates of the Sage Wall's man made origins point to Göbekli Tepe as proof that monumental construction is not limited to the classical civilizations we know, but can emerge from cultures far older and more mysterious. Farther afield, in New Zealand, lies the Kaimanawa Wall, a structure that has provoked debate for decades. It appears to be made of large rectangular blocks stacked in courses, creating the illusion of a constructed wall. Local geologists argue it is a natural ignimbrite outcrop fractured by volcanic processes, but others insist the straight lines and right angles suggest deliberate shaping. The argument surrounding the Kaimanawa Wall mirrors the debate about Sage Wall almost exactly, which is why the two sites are often mentioned together. Each sits at the intersection of geology and archaeology, challenging us to determine where nature ends and human intervention begins. Dolmens provide yet another global parallel. These megalithic tomb-like structures, often consisting of two or more upright stones supporting a massive capstone, are found across Europe, Asia, Africa, and even Korea. Their distribution is so wide that it is hard to imagine they are not linked by some shared knowledge or cultural impulse. In Montana, the Tizer Dolmen, located not far from the Sage Wall, bears the same characteristics. It has large upright stones supporting a flat horizontal slab, with evidence of knobs and grooves similar to those at other dolmen sites around the world. If the Sage Wall and the Tizer Dolmen are indeed artificial, they could be part of a forgotten megalithic culture in North America, paralleling traditions seen on other continents. The similarities among these sites do not end with the stones themselves, but extend to alignments and astronomical connections. Many megalithic structures, from Stonehenge in England to the pyramids in Egypt, are oriented to solstices and equinoxes. The Sage Wall, as noted by researchers like Semir Osmanagic, faces the winter solstice, suggesting intentional design. Such orientation indicates that ancient builders were not only shaping stone but also observing the sky. embedding celestial cycles into their architecture. Cup marks, too, appear across cultures, from Europe to South America, and now in Montana. Their purpose is unknown, but their recurrence across thousands of miles and thousands of years suggests that they held universal significance, whether practical or symbolic. What makes Sage Wall unique is that if it is man-made, it would be the only site of its kind in North America. Unlike Peru or Egypt, where advanced civilizations are well documented, Montana is not known to have hosted complex societies at the scale required for such engineering feats. Its presence here forces uncomfortable questions. Could there have been a civilization in the Americas long before the Clovis culture, which archaeology currently recognizes as the earliest widespread people on the continent? If so, why has no other evidence of their existence been found? Or has that evidence been overlooked, misclassified, or destroyed by time and cataclysm? The implications are enormous. If the Sage Wall is artificial, it would rewrite the story of human settlement in the Americas by pushing back the timeline of advanced culture by thousands of years. It would mean that before agriculture, before recorded history, and even before the end of the Ice Age, people were already building monumental stone structures in the New World. This would suggest that North America was not simply a late chapter in human migration, but possibly a cradle of innovation in its own right. It could mean that early peoples here shared knowledge with societies across the globe, or developed similar techniques independently, a phenomenon known as convergent cultural evolution. Are these structures evidence of global knowledge sharing thousands of years ago? Some researchers argue that it is impossible to explain the similarities among megalithic sites without assuming some form of contact between continents. Others counter that human beings everywhere faced similar challenges and may have arrived at similar solutions without ever meeting. Either way, the Sage Wall's potential connection to this global network of mysteries keeps it at the center of debate. It is not simply a strange wall in Montana. It could be a missing link in a chain of sites that stretches from the Andes to the Nile, from Anatolia to the Pacific. For now, it stands alone in North America, a structure that should not exist if conventional history is correct, but one that does exist nonetheless, daring us to decide whether it is nature's illusion or the relic of a civilization lost to time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the next video for more exciting content.